How has the Russia-Ukraine war influenced alliances in the Middle East, such as the growing alliance between Russia and Iran?
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of the axis, modern axis of evil is Russia, Iran, and China. Um, I would have said before the war in Ukraine, specifically on this, the Iranians were number three in this triad. They were sort of subservient to the Russians and the Chinese and the CCP. I mean, if you look at the gas deal they signed with the CCP. But since the war in Ukraine, Russia has sort of relied more heavily on Iran. So it sort of has strengthened that relationship, putting them more on equal footing. Because again, the Shahed drones, which are these cheap suicide drones, which are very good at murdering civilians, not amazing at, fighting against, armies, but if you want to terrorize a bunch of civilians, you can rely on the Islamic Republic of Iran to help you with that. So, these cheap Shahed drones have sort of strengthened that relationship there. And you've seen in other parts of the Middle East, Russia has quite effectively used the Hamas as proxy, which is another proxy of the Islamic Republic. Again, Iran funds Hamas, but Hamas is not going to do anything without the approval of Russia and China as well. So we know that the IRGC, which is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of the Islamic Republic of Iran, we know they trained and funded Hamas as well as Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Ash al-Shabi, and the rest of their proxies. But anyone who knows anything knows that this needed a green light from Putin in some way. This needed at least a tacit endorsement from Putin. And you understand how the Russians benefit from this. By shifting focus from Ukraine, you exacerbate the sort of long game, the waiting game here. When will the West get tired of supporting Ukraine? And you shift focus away. I mean, when everyone's looking at Gaza, you've seen many different countries, ramp up their personal thing, right? Turkey's used this as means to just bomb the Kurdish regions they don't like, right? Just straight up blew up a hospital last night. No one cares because no Jews, no news. Right? You have jihadists throughout Sudan, massacring another massacre from jihadists in Nigeria. Generally, you're seeing the Russians sort of entrench themselves, or if not entrench themselves, but use the more radical Iranian linked Middle Eastern militias and anyone who's values sort of like anti-Semitism overall, like the countries that have leaders that are dedicated to the eradication of Jewish people. You got Pakistan, Qatar, Malaysia. A lot of bad actors. They're shifting closer to the Russians. The Russians are definitely taking advantage of this. It's kind of what many of us have been saying for decades on the Reaganites is Russia is a major destabilizing factor in the world that has to be countered. And if you don't counter the Russians and you just live in this fantasy land where we can all talk about our feelings and work things out with Vladimir Putin, you're going to get chaos and you're going to get more war and destruction. Unfortunately, this is a lesson we have not learned. And I hope we learn it sooner rather than later.